Hi, everybody. Welcome to our episode. The episode today is the longest stride of soul. And to introduce the topic, let's look at Mrs. Laird described the experience of dealing with daily challenges or problems as expanding in the negative. She wrote, expanding in the negative involves the self-strengthening of our divinity, which could not be accomplished or it would be. She shared an excerpt from the Saturday Evening Post. Is Sandra complaining about her difficulties? No, old Sandra is making it. That's why. She is a real existential chick. The welfare worker to whom Sandra's brother was speaking asked, "What do you mean?" "I mean that was a ness. That was a
Yes.
mess of chaos she was in. But she she made herself right in the middle of those bad scenes. Now she really is. The question is, would Sandra have made herself without the chaos? No, not Sandra. If she could have found herself without it, she would have." And Alan Watts, in his book, The Wisdom of Insecurity, wrote, "The wisdom that there is no life or truth other than my own mind is seen in the human sense of things as security and insecurity, life and death. Love is the vision to live them both with equal joy, since one exists because of the other. This is the paradox seen as humanity becoming divine, expanding into the negative." And that's from Margaret Laird, Government is Self-Government, on page 56. Welcome, Betty.
Yep.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to reinforce that mention that Alan Watts quote brings up. We're dealing in human living with the mode of paradox all the time. We have everything defined by its opposite, and equally present are both qualities, good and bad, equal.
Yeah.
I can't have one without the other, and I don't ever have more of one than I have of the other. I know that Margaret described that a lot by saying, if I'm sick, I'm well. If I'm well, I'm sick.
Right.
In the human picture of things, that's exactly where you are. It's like almost like being on a teeter-totter. You're right in the middle. Either way, it's all equal.
Yeah. And Tolstoy had the vision to say, the law of progress and perfectibility is written in the soul of each individual.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about the law of progress, I think about that. And you're really talking about infinity, because there isn't any progress, but there's no sameness.
Right.
And that became known as progress.
Right.
But it's actually the nature of infinity to constantly be appearing and never duplicating itself.
Yeah.
So it's the expression of infinity that we call progress.
Right.
And they talked about perfectibility, and they talked about that as if there were something occurring, and what it is the ground of perfection, is the being of everything that exists or seems to exist.
Right.
So it's
Exactly.
always perfect.
It's that right now.
Go ahead.
It's that right now, right now, right now, right
Exactly.
now. And it looks like continuity, and it's infinity disclosing right now, right now, right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
Perfectibility is a way of describing the recognition of your ground of being.
Yeah.
Which is perfection.
Yeah, perfect. Well, before we go any further, I want to talk about our sponsor. The sponsor for Rethink Life is the Institute of Metaphysical Science. They were established in 1959 as the Margaret Laird Foundation, researching, exploring, living, and teaching the science of being and the causal nature of consciousness. The website is www.scientificmetaphysics.org. And everything that we're talking about is taken from Mrs. Laird's book, Government is Self-Government. So we've been using this as a source material for many of our episodes right now, because it is so good and it's so timely to what we're all facing right now as we look at our own government of ourselves, the government, our whole notion of government, all of that.
The world government.
Exactly. And the challenges that are coming up in all of that. So to that end, that is where we are, the longest stride of soul. Do you have that full quote?
I don't.
Okay.
I know there's a poem, but I don't have a copy of it. I tried to find it, but I wasn't.
So that's one of the things that we've got. So the longest stride of soul is the name of this session, and we'll see how it unfolds. Now, in Government is Self-Government on page 57, Margaret Laird wrote, as a conscious identity, thinking, I am self-directed and self-saved. The conscious human individuality that I am is fully equipped to be its own existential living.
Yep.
And Mary Baker Eddy in Science and Health on page 62 said it this way, our false views of life hide eternal harmony and produce the ills of which we complain.
Yeah. And, you know, when you were talking about the conscious human individuality, I think we need to say it more slowly to really get that we're talking about our own thinking. Mm-hmm. The conscious, the infinitude of conscious human individuality. We're talking about our own thought being, our own presence as thinking.
Right, but not thinking like Kim's thinking.
Well, we're not thinkers. There's a distinction. Exactly. Being the thinking is not like being a thinker.
Right, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Man is not a thinker. Man is the action of the God idea.
Yes.
So thinking is man.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you go on, she goes on, Margaret Laird goes on to say, I am self-directed and self-saved. So to talk about that, there isn't anything outside of yourself that's going to save anything.
Yeah. And I put that quote in, you know, John Scott Haldane wrote a book called Sciences and Philosophy. Mm-hmm. And in that book, Margaret used this quote a lot.
Yeah.
But he said the apparent evil and imperfection of the universe must not be interpreted as evil and imperfection, right, but as imperfect apprehension. We're the ones that make the mistake of thinking that it is evil and imperfection,
right,
not recognizing that it's just a point of view.
Yeah.
It's not like is evil. There isn't any is evil.
Right.
It's a point of view.
And it's our point of view. And if our point of view is something that we have, we can change our point of view. If we can identify it as not an is thing that we're stuck with, that we actually created. Is that one way of looking at this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
So if I have the point of view that God, this sucks and whatever, on whatever situation it is, then I can say, wait a minute, that's just a point of view of the one perfect functioning. And this is the only way I can see it. So now I can change my whole perspective in the way I live it.
Yeah, and I skipped ahead a little bit, but if you go back, the quote that we have from Mary Baker Eddy says it exactly the same thing. Read it.
Our false views of life hide eternal harmony and produce the ills of which we complain.
Yeah, our false views, our point of view.
Right. And our point of view is always a false view. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, but it's what we're working with. It's really freeing and helpful to recognize that whatever your view is, it's a point of view. It's not like cast in concrete truth.
Right.
It's a point of view. It's the way reality is occurring for you right now, right now, right now, right now.
Right.
And it always shifts.
Yeah.
If you don't see that it's a point of view, then you become enamored of your point of view and you want to hang on to it.
Yeah.
And when you do, you become a victim.
Yeah.
Because you're hanging on to something that just came and went and you just drag it along, hanging on to it.
Right.
It's already gone.
Right.
You know.
So you could say our point of views are all about past stuff.
Always, with the whole language universe.
Right now happens in that blink of an eye, that less than a blink of an eye, right now, right now, right now. And we're hanging on to something that's
gone. Yeah.
Okay, cool. If this conversation is making a difference for you or you like this, we'd love a thumbs up or a heart. Those are ways you can acknowledge that. And also, if you want to leave a comment or you want to make a comment and join the conversation, please do that. And we'll bring it into the conversation as well. So feel free to do that. Moving on to government is, mind is the athlete. And what you have to say, similar to what we've been talking about, just to add this in, you wrote, language is a percept, a view that doesn't actually exist. Power resides in the distinction that language is never what's present. It's a look, a view, or a concept of reality having no presence or meaning of its own. And that's exactly what we've just said.
Right. It's the pictures, the things we look at, they come up and we give them all the power they've got. They don't have any power on them. It's just my point of view is a point of view, not written in cement anywhere.
Right.
And uniquely mine.
Yeah.
Nobody else sees what I see.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If I, oh, now it went right out of my head. If I have a point of view, it's a look or a concept, and I hold on to it, and I hold on to my view of it. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Does that leave me stuck? Does it leave the look stuck? Or was the look?
It doesn't leave you. You are stuck.
Okay.
Yeah, you have blinded yourself, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
To your point of view.
Okay, so it's like I've just put a blindfold on to the divinity that's present as.
You forgot that everything seen, heard, and felt is in the past.
Yeah.
So you're stuck with sitting in the past as if it were real, living in a never land of fiction and out of touch with what's going on.
Right. And as soon as I acknowledge and I'm willing to have it be exactly the way it is, the whole thing frees up.
That's right.
And I'm back present, just like that.
Well, you are, whether you know it or not.
And is it fair to say that the discipline of that living, of being willing to allow the picture to be exactly the way the picture is the longest stride of soul?
Yep, because it takes a lot to stand there.
Yeah.
To stand in that recognition.
Okay.
To stand in the recognition that everything I'm seeing right now is already past.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Because I want to fix it. I want to manage it. I want to enjoy it.
But I've got to do something.
Yeah.
And that's what cracks me up about that is when you want to do something and when you're having the issues. I know when Ardith was born, you have a story about that with Margaret. And you said, well, what do I do? And she said, well, I don't know. Do the dishes.
Yeah.
You think there's something to do? Well, go do something. But don't give it
go to the movies, read a book.
Yeah. Don't give it a false sense of importance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But and do what there is. And then the other thing that I want to explore a little bit, maybe we're getting to it, but is this whole notion of if I can allow things to be exactly the way they are and be willing to have it just be the way it is, then that's where creativity, creation, revelation, I'm open to the intuition of what's next. What is there? What's an opening for action that I didn't see before? Is that
right? When I say leave it alone, it doesn't mean cast it in concrete.
Right.
Like freeze it here and put it over here in the corner and save it for later.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the capacity that every human being has to recognize, oh, that's red, and walk on.
Yeah.
Not like it's red, it's the only red there is. I'm going to keep it right here in this box forever.
Right.
because then you're stuck with what you're hanging on to.
Yeah.
And you have no room to be yourself. You're busy being the red.
Right. Right. Okay, so let's move into the next quote from Margaret Laird in Government is Self-Government on page 58. She said, enlightenment is the spiritual maturity essential for happy living under all circumstances. The spiritually mature are not trapped by the theory or belief that they can receive something from others.
Mm-hmm.
So unpack that a bit.
Well, spiritually mature, you're not trapped by the theory that there is something out there that can inform you.
Okay. It's my own self-living.
I'm always talking to myself. Even when I talk to Kim, what's said here is not said anywhere but right here, this moment, this instant.
Mm-hmm.
There's no seniority to conversation. It's right now, right now, right now, right now, and it keeps moving.
Right, but I live it. It's my world. I'm living with exactly what's going on, just like you're living, and that's your world. Like I know I exist. I'm not quite so sure about you.
Yep.
Is that the idea?
You don't need to be sure about me except as your view.
Right, but when I look at the spiritually mature are not trapped by the theory or belief that they can receive something from others. If I'm living my others outside myself is where that view would have precedence. If I'm living divinely, one being present showing up as this world that I walk through, that's a whole different experience as well. Of course, here I am. This is what's showing up as my world. Even though the look might look like something other contributing.
Okay, to give a simple illustration of what you're trying to say there.
Yeah.
A lot of people assume that their job is what provides them with supply, with abundance, or the lack of it. So they look to their job for their security. And therein, they limit themselves.
Yes.
It is my embodiment of, if I can call it that, but my constitutional security. It has me able to let go of the belief that a job could possibly provide me with anything. There's nothing out there, certainly nothing in the language world, which is already past, that can assure me of security.
Yeah.
But security is constitutional.
Yeah.
The being that I am has security as the ground. It isn't something that I provide for myself.
Right. Or that you find outside of yourself.
Yes, it's part of, it's like the air I breathe.
Yeah.
If I know who I am, the conscious human individual honors God as its source. Margaret Laird defined that saying, well, the action of the God idea is man.
Yeah.
If that's true, I don't have to lift a finger from a human point of view. But if I try not to lift a finger, I'm stuck with the belief that the finger was going to do something and I'm standing in the way of it.
Right.
I can't play with that. I have to leave it alone. Leave the language alone.
And just walk on, doing what there is to do.
Walking on, knowing that the being that you are, the divine presence, the action of the God idea is what's going on all the time. And the God idea is never missing out on anything. It's fully cared for, loved, supplied, enjoyed, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is let go of the belief that Betty's got to do something about that.
Yeah.
Or with that or for that.
Yeah.
And I will do all kinds of things, but they will be done as not doing them. They'll be just, it's like going to bed at night. Oh, yeah, it's 10 o'clock at night, time to go to bed. So I go to bed.
Right.
I don't think, my well-being hangs on my being in bed by 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 12 o'clock or
Well,
any
of course, because it's all about getting 8 hours of sleep.
it. Anyway, you got the idea.
Yeah. Okay, good. Now, along those same lines in Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy on page 419 wrote, mind produces all action. If the action proceeds from truth, from immortal mind, there is harmony.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just fussing with the picture.
Yeah.
Rearranging the chess pieces in my life. Is that?
Yeah, it could be. I put a note here from the Government of Self-Government. Margaret wrote, in exchanging the physical view for the metaphysical view, the metaphysician does not reject nor deny the existential world. He recognizes its metaphysical nature.
Yeah.
All is infinite mind, infinitely manifest.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. It's all the action of the God idea.
Right. Now we have a comment from Deborah. She said, heard this today, thought you would appreciate it. Sin, self-inflicted nonsense. Love your talks. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Sin, self-inflicted nonsense.
And it is
I like
all
that.
self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's excellently worded. We don't want to take the blame for the mess that comes along our way. It's always the other guy's fault. If he had only done blah, 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 then I wouldn't have this problem.
Right.
Or if I could just get over there, it would be better. Yeah. The weather would be better. The income would be better. The job would be better. The relationship would be better. If.
Yeah.
There's no iffy at all.
Yeah.
None. If all that's going on is the God idea in action, showing up looking like Betty or Kim or whatever configuration I can work with, called the world I walk through.
Yeah.
It's all showing me the huge wholeness, the magnificent or tremendous or unimaginably inexhaustible presence that has me be. Then I could drop all this nonsense.
Right.
And to the degree that I drop the nonsense, the freedom is lovely.
Well, it's not only the freedom is lovely, the intuitive actions that are there that show up are so obvious. But when you're stuck, you can't see them.
Right. And you do know intuitively what to do all the time.
Yep.
Where to go and the whole bit.
But not when you're fussing.
Well, that's when you forget who you are.
That's right. When you're fussing, you get blinded to all that. It's like putting blinders on.
Yep, that's true.
All right. And then in your book, Mind is the Athlete, on page 93, you wrote, when action is rooted in fact rather than concept, you generate from the power of being a language of peace and joy and power. Yep. That's that freedom you just spoke about.
Yep.
So
I think it was well worded, don't you?
Very well worded. I think that was great. Again, Mind is the Athlete. Okay. Yes. Must have been written by a brilliant woman.
Mm.
Okay. So any rate, so then moving on Government is Self-Government on page 60 and 61, Margaret Laird wrote, the existential man is achievement, fulfillment, perfection-oriented, because infinity, perfection, fulfillment, wholeness are the reason or principle for his existence. You are soul and not body separate from soul. This fact of life lived self-consciously is God with us as us.
Yep.
Well said.
Yep. And that's right on. And that's in Government of Self-Government, page 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mary Baker Eddy on page 418 of Science and Health wrote, truth is affirmative and confers harmony. All metaphysical logic is inspired by this simple rule of truth. which governs all reality.
Yeah, and that's like self-government.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the action of the God idea constitutes man, constitutes my being, then it's all handled.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that messes up the whole works is when Betty gets in there and tries to arrange it and manage it and fix it,
Right.
reorganize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when we start playing around in the picture and fussing. And that's when we actually put our blinders on,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that we're seeing clearly when we're just wandering around in the dark.
Well, we're blinding ourselves with our foolishness.
That's right. That's right. That's the sin is a nonsense. I like that, what Deborah said.
That was very good.
And in Mind as the Athlete on page 94, you wrote, learning to live yourself insightfully from the perspective of being whole and complete expands your capacity to access a power and presence beyond human imagination.
Yeah. And that language, learning to live yourself insightfully, you know, we have to address the appearance of the human individual that we play the game with. I have to learn to cope with Betty. And what that does, it's like a self-strengthening exercise, because what that does is have you consciously address your own divine presence that allows the Betty to show up at all. So if you can learn to leave the Betty alone and let her just do her thing while you're present to what's actually going on that has Betty show up, you'll find the answers before you need them. You'll find the supply before you need it. You'll find all of the stuff of peace and joy and power in your pathway all the time.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So you could say that to discover what's shaping your actions, examine the unconscious, automatic, mechanical actions present in your behavior. So everyone just take a look.
That again slowly.
To discover what's shaping your actions, examine the unconscious, automatic, mechanical actions present in your behavior.
Yep.
Judgmental evaluations based on past information reveal what dominates and shapes your human living. Mm-hmm. Becoming fully conscious of them and their effects act to diminish their domination in your life.
Yeah.
So that's what there is to do. And again, if it were easy, everybody be doing it. It is the longest stride of soul. So in this next week, my challenge to you is to be conscious of the longest stride of soul.
Be conscious
as the longest stride of soul. Very good. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Because that's what you are.
Yeah.
The stride of soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. So that's all we have for you tonight. If there's any other comments or questions, if this has made a difference, go ahead and thumbs up. If you're on our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have new subscribers. And until next week, we'll see you Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Central. All right. That's all we've got. Thank you so much.
Okay.